Welcome to Friday Fuel for January 12th, 2024. Here are some announcements about what's happening at the Wesley Foundation. Join us Sunday at 5:30 for Sunday supper, and don't forget to stop by our table at Panther Palooza next Tuesday between 2 and 5 p.m. For the rest of this month and the beginning of February, we'll be looking at Magi de Vega's Questions Jesus Asked during our Wednesday night Wesley on Wednesday worship service. Come by at 8:30 p.m. and join us for WOW. And now, here's some fuel for your Friday. Welcome to our first Friday Fuel of 2024. Last Saturday was January 6th, which in the church year is Epiphany, which is the end of the Christmas season, and the day that we observe that the Magi arrive and worship the Christ child. And as I've researched and preached on Epiphany throughout the years, I've learned more and more about the Magi. And what's funny is that there's not actually a whole lot to learn about them. We read about them in Matthew 2, 1 through 12. That's the only place they show up. And Matthew doesn't tell us anything about them except that Magi came from the east to Jerusalem. And they asked, "Where is the newborn king of the Jews? We've seen his star in the east and we've come to honor him." So that's really all we find out. And then they have their meeting with Herod and they continue on. And then they do find the house because the star that they'd been following leads them there. And they worship Jesus, and they were warned in a dream not to return to Herod, and so they went back to their own country by another route. We don't know what country that is. Throughout the centuries, millennia even, the church has filled in some of those blanks with legend about who the Magi were, and we often refer to them as the wise men. But the more that I think about this story, the more I think we should really reconsider that name, the wise men, because we don't know that they were all men, for one. But also, they stopped in Jerusalem and kind of caused a scene, and Matthew's audience would have said, well, they caused a problem because they upset Herod. And then Herod's next move is actually to find all of the 2-year-old and younger boys in the kingdom and have them killed. How wise were these wise men? Is a question that I've been thinking about. But I've also been thinking about that whole part of church life where we want to fill in the blanks and we want to have more answers about who they are. And so we have this tradition that there were 3 of them. We call them kings. We probably sang "We Three Kings of Orient Are." And there's a lot of theories and legends about who they were, but we just don't know. But so often in our faith life, we want to know and we want to fill in the blanks. And I think that that's a problem for the church in the year 2024, is that we think we have to have all the answers. We want to fill in all the blanks. We want to be able to say that we know this is exactly how this happened. And yet, it's a crazy story. They set off on what probably was like a 2 or 3 year journey, following a star from we don't even know where, to meet they didn't even know who. They didn't have all the answers. And what they were seeking is the one whose star would be such a sign in the heavens, right? They didn't know who that was. And yet in the church today, often, this is what we believe, this is who we are, and if you don't believe this, then you're not actually a Christian. If you do believe this, then you're not actually a Christian. And it's all about, this is what you believe, this is what we think, this is how everything works. And we leave out mystery. We want to be able to find the, archaeological evidence for everything in the Bible. People want to take the Bible as a science textbook. It's all fact, every single thing that happened in there. And yet, here we have this story of these people who knew nothing. They didn't know what they were doing. And yet they become this legend, and we call them wise. And we want to say they're wise men. They were kings. We imagine that they had camels. We imagine how they traveled. And yet they are sort of the prototypical, like, seekers who we don't even know what they believe. We don't know if they ever really they didn't become Christian, obviously. And so I wonder if in the church that we need to relearn how to embrace mystery and not knowing and just anticipation. The Magi anticipated whatever was coming at the end of their journey. And when the star stopped, they were overwhelmed with joy. So maybe it's not that we need to have all the right answers, but that we need to anticipate the excitement that is coming. We need to anticipate that something amazing is afoot, because God is always at work. God brought those Magi all the way from wherever their home was. God brought them to the exact spot where Jesus was, safely. Maybe we assume that they returned home safely, we don't know. But if God could bring these foreigners and outsiders who didn't know what they were doing, who actually stopped to ask directions in really like the worst possible location and upset the actual political king, then probably God can guide us in a way that we don't have to know all the answers, and we don't have to believe that everything happens for a reason, because everything happens and then there are reasons sometimes. But God is guiding us. God could guide those Magi, and God can guide us as well, and maybe we can just anticipate that journey and let go of the need for answers and facts. So now, in your classes, you need answers and facts. In your faith, the anticipation of the journey and how God will show up along the way matters a lot to us. So embrace that. Embrace whatever journey you're on. Embrace the anticipation of God's presence with you. And rest in that as this new year and new semester begins. And if you didn't get a star word because you weren't here Wednesday night, or if you live far away and you'd like a star word sent to you in the mail, I would be happy to give you a star word, which we use as a symbol of how God will guide us through the year, that God will be revealed to us through whatever word is on our star. We might learn something new about ourselves, and we'll learn something new about God through that. So if you would like a star, you can send me an email, betzy@eiuwesley.org, and I'll see you back here next week for another Friday Fuel. Goodness. Stay warm out there. The weather is frightful.